Hello and thanks for joining us on Nationwide on the NTA. I am Lauri Bala Hassan. President Muhammadu Buhari says he will not betray the confidence Nigerians have in him. Speaking at the inauguration of 500 tractors in Bauchi, President Buhari says government will prosecute anybody who engages in corrupt practices. He says money recovered from looted funds will be put into the treasury. The president called on the people of Bauchi and Nigerians to send their children to school, reminding them of the importance of education in human life. He advises politicians to play the game by the rules as the country is approaching another election period. The resident electoral commissioner in Kogi State, Professor James Apam, says all necessary arrangements have been put in place for the recall of Senator representing Kogi West, Senator Dino Melaye, on Sunday. The commissioner disclosed this at a meeting with stakeholders in Lokoja. Charles Alpha reports.
Professor James Akpam said the recall process of Senator Dino Melaye, which begins with verification of signatures, will be carried out on Saturday in about 560 polling units in Kogi West, while declaration of outcome of the exercise will be done at INEC's local government area office in Lokoja on Sunday, the 29th.
Ad hoc staff have been trained at the state and local government levels and materials procured and sent to the registration area centers ready for movement to the polling units on the day of verification.
The petition, he said, can only be verified if at least 51% of the signatures or thumbprints of the registered voters in the constituency are ascertained. The commissioner warned those who did not have business with the recall process to stay away, as decisive measures have been taken to deal with anyone found wanting. The national commissioner supervising Kogi, Kwara, and Nasarawa states, Mohammed Haruna, and other stakeholders called for the peaceful conduct of the exercise and urged every party involved to play by the rules. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has challenged the nation's military to work together towards the re-establishment of the Armed Forces Medical Services in line with the Defense Agency of Nigeria. Through the articulation and execution of joint policy schemes and programs by the three services. This, he said, is to optimize the utilization of medical resources and avoid duplication of efforts in service delivery. The president was speaking at the inauguration of the Nigeria Air Force Reference Hospital as part of his two-day official visit to the state. State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports that President Muhammadu Buhari, who is visiting Bauchi for the first time, also inaugurated a number of projects executed by the Muhammad Abubakar administration. Amongst them include the Giwo Gidam Mai Road and the rehabilitated State Assembly Junction Road, named after the former governor of the state, Dahiru Muhammad Deba.
Counter-insurgency efforts are bound to be enhanced by the location of this medical facility because of its proximity to theaters of operation. It will reduce the hitherto long distance to 44 Nigerian Army Reference Hospital and Nigerian Air Force Hospital Kaduna for casualties, thus saving time for casualty evacuation. The strategic goal is that more lives will be saved from operational injuries. Furthermore, this hospital would reinforce the national trauma medical support for critical emergencies such as natural or man-made disasters.
And turning our attention now to education. Against the backdrop of the much talked about falling standard of education in Nigeria, the Senate and other major players in the sector are putting hands to improve on the system for it to respond to the present demands. To that effect, an interactive session was convened by the President of the Senate, Abubakar Bukola Saraki, to deliberate on the challenges and prospects towards making education a veritable platform for the development of the country. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu reports.
The session is aimed at identifying problems and challenges of Nigeria, government effort towards addressing educational-related issues, and to develop an action plan for interventions by the National Assembly.
If we are to provide citizens with the skill sets that we will use to grow our economy and accelerate development, education cannot be brushed aside.
In thinking about solutions, we will be able to identify those interventions that fall within the boundaries of legislations and how this could be used to initiate or drive the kind of reform that we may find necessary.
With the Education for Change plan, but they need to take the next step, and that's under discussion. But it needs to be based on what change do you really, really want.
I think we must look at teacher education. I think that is primary.
The interaction provides a platform for stakeholders to lead the discourse towards the reinvigoration of the country's education through a proper educational system and areas of possible legislative action. Economic hardship, child labor, and early marriage are some issues identified by stakeholders as major educational challenges in the country. They are also of the opinion that the Nigeria's educational system need reinvention and a new model. Meanwhile, Chairman Senate Committee on Diaspora Rose Oko has condemned the continuation of xenophobic attacks in South Africa. It was at a press briefing on the recent incident where a Nigerian was killed by a mob in Rustenburg.
The AU needs to look at the measures that can be adopted to ensure that South Africa sits up to its responsibility.
The senator emphasized the need for additional measures that will discourage mass movement of Nigerian youth to other parts of the world, notwithstanding the dangers that they may face. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
The Senate has commenced the consideration of the request by President Muhammadu Buhari for the inclusion of $496.3 million in the 2018 budget for the purchase of military helicopters. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that the communication introduced through a motion by Deputy Senate Leader Bala Ibn Allah received divergent opinion from the senators after a heated debate. The Senate President Bukola Saraki referred the matter to the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters to advise the Senate at Wednesday's plenary. The Kwara State Governor, Abdul Fattah Ahmed, has expressed his administration's readiness to support any move that promotes sustainable peace and development in the state. He stated this while declaring open of a Erinle peace meeting held in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. Abdul Hafiz Alaya reports.
The governor, who was represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Alhaji Shaka Good, described peace as a key component of development in any society. He noted that there is no alternative to peace, hence the two communities should forget the past and embrace one another for the growth and development of their areas and the state at large.
We believe with this meeting today between Ofa and Erinle, this will be the best time that we are going to have, and this will be the time that we say from today we will say glory be to God, there is peace now. Things that will not assist these projects, let's not do it, so that at the end of the day the peace we have been clamoring, praying for will be a thing of the past.
We must have the spirit of give and take if there must be peace.
The chairman of Lado Peace Initiative, Mr. Umar Balogun, said the effort was to foster unity between Ofa and Erinle through sport. The meeting was attended by traditional rulers and political office holders from Ofa and Oyun local government areas of the state. In Ilorin, Abdelhafiz Alaya, NTA News.
Nigeria has joined other African countries in raising awareness on the challenges and consequences of excessive and prolonged pre-trial detention of persons in Africa on the event to mark 2018 African Pre-Trial Detention Day. On this note, the National Human Rights Commission wants an effective strengthening of institutional strategies as well as improvement of the constitutional guarantees and implementation of all other national laws aimed at protecting the rights of detainees in Nigeria. Justin Bemuyi reports.
The 25th of April marks the African Pre-Trial Detention Day, commemorated annually to raise awareness on the plight of pre-trial detainees in prison, police and other detention facilities across Africa. In Nigeria today, records indicate that more than 70% of prison inmates are awaiting trial, a trend relevant stakeholders describe as worrisome, with attendant high risks of various human rights violations. The National Human Rights Commission brought together stakeholders from the judiciary, law enforcement agencies and prisons for a consultative dialogue on human rights implications of pre-trial detention as well as profile recommendations to reverse the trend.
Presently, we observe the way the system operates is as if it is a punitive measure, wherein people are taken in and clapped down into prisons, and they stay far longer than necessary.
So it is important that today we have to deliberate on what the judiciary is doing about this issue, because they are the ones that give you the warrant that admits you into the prison facilities. On a second note, the police.
The NBA is a great promoter of human rights and the rule of law.
We already have a strong law in the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. My view is that if the provisions, there could be better enforcement of the provisions.
The day coincides with the adoption by the African Commission on Human and People's Rights of the Launder Guidelines, which makes provision for states to strengthen national systems in relation to arrest, police custody, and pre-trial detention. In Abuja, Justin Bemuyi, NTA News.
And still on human rights, the federal government has paid the sum of 135 million naira compensation to the victims of September 2013 Apo killing. Aliu Tukuru reports that the Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, handed over the check to the incoming chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, Tony Ojukwu, for onward distribution to families of the victims.
Around this area that the arms buried on the ground, but they were not too sure of the exact location.
In September 2013, the DSS received intelligence report that there was to be an attack in Abuja by Boko Haram group. Following this tip-off, the DSS, together with the army, led a joint security operation, which resulted in the loss of life of 8 persons and injuring 11. This elicited public outcry, which led the National Human Rights Commission to set up a panel of inquiry into the killings. After several months of evidence gathering, on the 7th of April 2014, the Commission handed a decision that the incident constituted a gross violation of the victims' human rights and ordered that a sum of 135 million naira should be paid to them. With the coming of this administration, the Minister of Justice entered into negotiations with the victims' families and the DSS with a view to settling the judgment awarded by the Commission. The families of the 8 people killed will receive 10 million naira each, while the 11 persons injured will receive 5 million naira each.
I am further glad to inform the public of this gesture, the first of its kind in Nigeria, coming from President Muhammadu Buhari, which is confirming his commitment to the rule of law, upholding justice and respecting human rights.
Upon the handing over of this check now, before the close of work today, they will be receiving their alerts.
We wish to thank
Mr. President Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, for his fervent stand for the ordinary masses.
The National Human Rights Commission says it will commence a special training for security agencies in order to avoid a reoccurrence of such incident. In Abuja, Aliu Tukur, NTA News.
Ministry of Power moves to boost transmission capacity. Elizabeth in Lagos has more on this and other stories trending in our Lagos Network Center. Elizabeth, it's over to you.
Hello, Laurie, and thank you so much for joining us in Lagos. Power stations in Lagos State have been upgraded by federal government. Musa Tolia, who visited 3 of them along with a media team, reports that it is part of efforts to enhance the transmission network.
The transmission grid has been considered one of the weak links in Nigeria's electricity network, and government is placing priority on upgrading it. In Lagos, work is ongoing at power stations, and some are at varying stages of execution.
All these are being done to be able to cope with the power demand of Lagos State and the environs.
At the Ikeja West sub-region, a 300 MVA transformer has been installed, raising its capacity from 750 MVA to 1,050 MVA. A digital control room has also been installed.
The state-of-the-art technology were done. All the control panels and the relay panels were changed.
Akungba sub-region in Surulere also got a 300 MVA transformer, increasing its transmission capacity from 180 MVA to 660 MVA.
In the next 2 years, I believe transmission will be running. Right now, we're already working.
Ejigbo substation similarly got a boost with a 100 MVA transformer and a state-of-the-art control room. Another 100 MVA transformer is being installed, which will ultimately enhance its transmission capacity to 300 MVA.
This is a nationwide tour organized by the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing and its agencies to showcase what the government has been doing in the power sector.
Other transmission sub-regions and substations across the country are expected to benefit from the ongoing expansion and equipment upgrade. In Lagos, Musa Tolian, NTA News.
The future is looking bright for 93 unemployed youths taking advantage of agricultural entrepreneurship to break from the shackles of unemployment. This is the initiative of the Nigerian Air Force based Youth Empowerment Through Agriculture program held at the Headquarters Logistics Command, Ikeja, Lagos. Mohammed Abdulkadri reports.
A greater majority of those caught up in terrorism are youths, which is why the world is focusing on young people with empowerment programs. The Nigerian Air Force is deploying this strategy by investing substantially in a base youth empowerment through agriculture program, BAETA.
The proceeds they are going to get is going to make them self-sufficient and self-reliant.
All the crises are linked to people who are hungry, poverty, joblessness. And who are the people involved? They are youth.
The specialization in fishery among the 3 core areas of agricultural value chains, including cropping and piggery, is understandable since findings reveal that 1 out of 5 people on the planet depend on fish as primary source of protein.
This kind of program now, I pray that we will have the power to do this thing so that it will make profits out of this.
BAETA is expected to reduce the growing number of unemployment youths in the country as the fish farmers look forward to an economically viable future as self-employed and employer of labor. In Lagos, Muhammad Abdulkadri, NTA News.
Kebbi State Police parades suspects. Sodia in Sokoto has more on this and other stories from our Sokoto Network Center.
Thank you. Welcome to Sokoto. Kebbi State Police Command has arrested suspects in connection with murder of 5 people in villages along Kebbi-Zamfara boundary. Nuritan Kwakili reports that the command, in pursuit of Inspector General of Police directives, have recovered some illegal firearms from across the state.
The 11 suspects were said to have crossed over from Zamfara State and attacked some villages and allegedly killed 5 people in the process and carted away 15 motorcycles. 5 locally made guns, 4 axes and 4 shovels, as well as a bunch of charms were recovered from the suspects. The police commissioner said the command has already deployed several detachments of police officers to checkmate the activities of bandits in the area.
We are doing everything we can to make sure what is happening in other places, including Zamfara, does not reach Kebbi.
Meanwhile, the command recovered 13 AK-47 rifles, 1 scrap machine gun, 6 locally made double-barrel guns, and 8 single-barrel guns, popularly called Wagila, as well as 1 pop-action and 1 locally made pistol, among others. CP Kabir Ibrahim said the recovery is in line with the Inspector General of Police desire to mop up illegal firearms across the country. The commissioner urged people to go about their lawful businesses while the police remained resolute in combating crimes in the state. In Birnin Kebbi, Nura Chanko Wakili, NTA News.
Zamfara State has increased the monthly allowance of all youth corps members deployed to the state from 3,000 naira to 5,000 naira with immediate effect. Governor Abdulaziz Yari Abubakar announced this at the swearing-in ceremony of 1,500 batch A Stream 1 corps members posted to the state. Sadia Abubakar has more on the story.
The 1,737 corps members who are batch A Stream 1 are currently at Safe Permanent Camp of NYSC undergoing orientation course. They are being introduced to different paramilitary training and teaching them the language of their host community for easy communication. Governor Abdulaziz Yari, who was represented by State Commissioner Youth, Skills Acquisition and Sports Abdullahi Muhammad Gurbin Bauri, said the approval and increase of the allowances is aimed at improving the welfare of the corps members.
Every corps member serving in the State in government establishment will be entitled to 5,000 naira monthly allowance as against 3,000. For those of us in the paramedics, they will be entitled to 20,000 naira monthly. For the medical doctors, Zamfara State will be paying them an allowance of 50,000 naira monthly.
The NYSC State Coordinator, Walida Isa, called on the corps members not to panic on the issue of insecurity because adequate measures have already been taken to give them protection. There was tug of war and cultural troupe to entertain the guests. In Gusau, Sadia Abubakar, NTA News.
The establishment of federal government colleges in Nigeria has been described as one of the bonds that strengthen peace, unity and progress of the country. House Leader, Sokoto State House of Assembly and former principal of Federal Government College, Sokoto, Garba Bello Yabo, stated this at the inauguration of new national executives of FGGC Sokoto Old Students Association held in Sokoto. Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila has the details.
Inauguration of the new national executives of the Federal Government College Sokoto All Students Association followed the dissolution of the last executives. During the annual general meeting, Garba Bello Yabo advised the new executives, school management, the Parent Teachers Association, and students to look forward and come up with ideas that will promote progress and development of the college. Outgoing National President Terry Okorodudu identified financial and economic constraints as some of the factors that prevented the association from achieving most of the programs as planned. He urged the new executives to continue with the legacy projects to the execution stage. At the inauguration of the new national executives, the national president, Hambali Tukur, promised to nurture both members and students to become better members of the society.
Serving the association of an institution that has national outlook is, by and large, also a national call to duty.
Principal of the school, Ibrahim Uba, and Sokoto State Chairman of the association, Hassan Muhammad Machido, enumerated some of the achievements in the areas of staff and student welfare, as well as discipline and academics, and promised to do more in that direction. In Sokoto, Abraham Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
That's all from Sokoto. Back to Laure in Abuja for more news. Good evening.
Thank you, Sadia. Vice President Yemi Oshinbajo says the undocumented movement of persons and animals can no longer be tolerated, as this contributes to security challenges in the sub-region. The Vice President said this at the opening of the three-day ECOWAS regional meeting of Ministers of Agriculture and Security, advised the West African nations to comply with the ECOWAS 1979 Transhumance Protocol and activate relevant sections of the protocol to prevent the sub-region from falling into a well of catastrophe. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
Can no longer continue to Countries of the West African sub-region must collaborate to end the herders farmers conflict, the Vice President warned. Of our security challenges. We must be able to the conflict, which he observes, is caused by the struggle for resources such as water and land, and is now putting on the robe of religion, ethnicity, and partisan grievances. Clearly, the importance of regional cooperation in border management, in law enforcement, and in identity management cannot be overemphasized. We intend to follow the regional cooperation model which we pursued in dealing with the threat of Boko Haram. So a similar approach is required, this time across the whole of West Africa, regarding the security situation associated with transhumance migration in particular. Factors complicating this, as Vice President Yemi Oshinbajo says, include climate change, related environmental factors, and activities of criminals who are taking advantage of porous borders and proliferation of illegal weapons. We must be able to track movement. We must ensure that the protocols are complied with and relevant sections are activated. We must not allow the noble vision of the founding fathers, a vision of regional integration, to be derailed by a failure to comply with the safeguards and conditions that they, in their wisdom and foresight, embedded in these protocols. Solution, he says, must take into consideration law enforcement, climate change, and reforms in current practices in crop and animal production, stressing that walking animals for long distance is no longer the norm.
Both herders and farmers are very important for the regional efforts towards food security. And the more the conflicts between them escalate, the more the reduction in the opportunities of guaranteeing food security. It was as a result of our recent experiences in Nigeria that His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari directed me to consult with the President of the ECOWAS Commission for the possibility of collaborative efforts among member states in order to address the fundamental issues involving the remote and immediate causes of these conflicts.
Meeting is timely. Recent years have witnessed an increase in conflict between herders and farmers in parts of West Africa and the Sahel. This is clearly a regional issue. It requires a regional approach to deal effectively with it.
A conference with the theme, Working Together for Regional Integration, Peace and Security, was organized to fashion out collaborative solutions to herdsmen and farmers' conflict, noted to be threatening national and regional security. In Abuja, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
You're watching Nationwide on the NTA. We now pause for some messages. The news continues shortly. Don't go away.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
We promise and we're delivering. This is the second winner of the ticket to Russia.
I feel so excited. I can't quantify my happiness. This is one experience that every Super Eagles supporter should experience. And I'm happy I'm one of those guys going to Russia to see the Super Eagles play Croatia and other teams in the World Cup. You need to start sending those text messages right now so that you can be a part of this. This is real. This is very real. Niger for Russia!
Like it. It's another Children's Day celebration with NTA Knowledge. It promises to be exciting and full of fun. Come, let's celebrate Children's Day on 24th May 2018.
Featuring dance, march past, drama, musical talent display, choreography, cultural dance, catching the train. That's not all. Bernie and Clown will be on ground to add color to the event.
Theme, creating safe spaces for children, our collective responsibility.
Schools, parents, what are you waiting for? You can't afford to miss this fun fair.
Venue, NTA Headquarters Arena, Area 11 Garki, Abuja. Gate fee, 1,000 naira only. Time, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
For participation and sponsorship details, dial. I like it. Come, let's celebrate children in a grand style. Happy Children's Day.
Madam. Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three,
you are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah? I was
You take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have. You don't have.
Join the rice revolution today.
no other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here and see how it are made.
Correct.
How they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Thanks for staying tuned. The national coordinator of the Buhari campaign organization, Ladi Pasali, has inaugurated the Buhari Oshin Bajo Youth Movement with a charge on members to propagate the achievements of the Buhari government to the nook and crannies of the country. Timothy Yusuf reports on the inauguration held in Abuja.
That I will be faithful.
That I will be faithful.
And honest.
And honest.
The Buhari Oshibajo Youth Movement being inaugurated by the National Coordinator of the Buhari Campaign Organization, Danladi Pasali. National Coordinator of the movement, Kelvin Okolie, thereafter inaugurated other executives of the movement. Their conviction is premised on a 19-point key achievements buttressing the imperative of the need for President Muhammadu Buhari to recontest the 2019 election. The list includes the Buhari administration's success story in combating crimes, effective implementation of the Treasury Single Account (TSA) and Bank Verification Number (BVN), massive investment in agriculture, and the successes being recorded in the administration's social investment program, among other laudable programs.
Until we begin to respect, appreciate, and evaluate our leaders with open mind, devoid of political hatred and propaganda, we must put him down syndrome. We will not make progress in this country. We need to change, and we need to change.
The Chairman Board of Trustees of the Buhari Campaign Organization, Marcus Gundiri, re-emphasized the need for Nigerians to shun divisive tendencies and work towards moving Nigeria to the next level.
We have the responsibility of declaring to the people of this nation what the president has done.
Other speakers were unanimous in their belief that a winning team deserves continuity. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
And still on political matters, the All Progressives Congress says it is aware of the planned Senator Ali Modu Sharif's defection to the party on Thursday, 26th April, as reported in some sections of the media. The party, however, maintains that anybody wishing to come into its fold should do so at the ward level and not at its headquarters. A statement by the party's National Publicity Secretary, Bolaji Abdullahi, reminds those wishing to join the party to do so at the ward level, but cards are not issued at the National Secretariat. Senator Magnus Abe has pledged support for President Buhari's re-election bid. He has also declared his intention to contest the 2019 governorship race in Rivers State under the APC. Osinachi Abraham reports on the development which took place at the inauguration of Senator Abe's liaison office in Port Harcourt, Rivers State.
The event was the official inauguration of Senator Magnus Abe's campaign office, tagged Freedom House in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Excited members of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State gathered to express joy at the development in the party. This is just as Party Faithful insists that the declaration of President Buhari's second bid will give the president the opportunity to continue with his change agenda and reposition every sector of the economy for the good of Nigerian people.
Under Magnus Abe, we will give right over 1 million votes to the president. Magnus Abe is a very civilized, exposed, and well-spoken man. Is it not true?
Senator Abe, while declaring the Freedom House open, dedicated the House towards APC victory in 2019. He stated that the House would provide APC members in Rivers State the platform to strategize on ways to ensure President Buhari's victory at the federal.
We must give our president the maximum support he needs to fulfill our expectations and build a better Nigeria. We have put our hands on the plow. We cannot go back. We can only go forward.
Various group and party chieftains at the event expressed support for Senator Abe in the state and President Buhari to take the country to an enviable position. In Port Harcourt, Osinachi Silvanus Abraham, NTA News.
The Council of Ndieze Okigwe Zone has joined other well-meaning Nigerians to support the re-election bid of President Muhammadu Buhari. This was part of resolutions reached at their monthly meeting held in Okigwe, Imo State. The traditional rulers were drawn from different communities in Okigwe, where issues bordering on the state of the nation and well-being of citizens were discussed. The call for President Muhammadu Buhari to seek re-election, the royal fathers say, was to enable him sustain the dignity of our country and further put the economy on the path of sustainable growth.
The president has demonstrated an uncommon steps and measures that would certainly restore faith and health in our nation. Our country is being gradually transformed into a modern state with best practices in the conduct of public affairs. We also commend Mr. President for the infrastructure developments in the Southeast region, especially the fast-track work being done on the second Niger Bridge, the Onitsha-Enugu-Port Harcourt Federal Highways, and the inclusion of the commercial towns of Southeast in the current railway networks.
The monarchs used the forum to enumerate some of the developmental strides of the president in the Southeast zone and thanked him for the confidence reposed on their sons and daughters who are members of his team. Rainstorm wreaks havoc in Enugu. Let's now join Chinyere in Enugu for more on this and other stories. Hello, Chinyere.
Thank you, Lore, and welcome to Enugu. The prediction of heavy rains this year by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, the effects of the predictions are already manifesting in some parts of the country with the onset of the winds. Chinenye Nwoye reports that many families have been rendered homeless while farmlands and property worth millions of naira have been destroyed in Enugu.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, had earlier in the year predicted early rainfall and normal cessation in many states of the country, including Enugu State. This is Obodapu village in Abogugu community in the Ogu local government area of Enugu State, where heavy rainfall have rendered many families homeless.
This is a very strange something. And ever since I've been a man, I never saw I encounter such a situation. It has damage everywhere. Very surprising.
That was a storm. Small thing. When I came here, I saw that it is devastating. And you see the extent of damage.
We have seen a similar thing in 1984, but the magnitude of this time is greater than what we saw in 1984.
Also affected in the area were various government amenities and public utilities, including schools, electricity poles and high-tension wires, billboards, as well as other buildings under construction. The situation was the same at some communities in Owoka, Nkanu East local government area of Enugu State, where the villagers are counting their losses due to the havoc caused by Monday night's rain.
Why this is painful from what you've noticed is that it touched the most vulnerable.
Environmental experts have over the years warned that flooding, erosion and thunderstorms that should be guarded against, hence the need for adequate sensitization of the public against such acts as disposal of refuse in drainages, as well as building structures on waterways to prevent flooding. In Enugu, Chinenye, NTA News.
As part of efforts to alleviate poverty and create wealth, over 1,000 youths and women in Enugu East Senatorial Zone of Enugu State have benefited from the first phase of an economic empowerment program. Nkiru Anyefena reports.
The items distributed to the beneficiaries are 210 units of tricycles, 100 units of power generating sets, as well as 120 units of deep freezers, 3 units of 300 kVA and 2 units of 500 kVA power transformers to some parts of the senatorial zone that are facing the challenge of persistent power outages. Among those that received the transformers were traders at the timber market Owani Enugu, which was recently gutted by fire.
This transformer, it will help us in our business. It will help us. I'm assuring you, we are not going to have another disaster.
Some widows received financial empowerment to start up small-scale businesses, while some physically challenged persons were supported with motorized wheelchairs for easy movement. Distributing the items, Senator Gilbert Nnaji said the gesture is his way of giving back to his constituency.
Economic empowerment items to encourage some of our people, including the transformers, to make life meaningful to some communities across the district.
Some Economic Empowerment Program described it as laudable and promised to use the items optimally to better their lives. The Economic Empowerment Program was carried out under the Odezuligbo Foundation, a non-governmental organization founded by Senator Nnaji for poverty alleviation. In Enugu, Nkiru Anyefena, NTA News.
Youths have been charged to have reorientation about the country's socio-political landscape if they are to succeed in their bid to take political positions. Benson Osadebe reports.
Meaningful youth participation in politics involves recognizing and nurturing the strengths, interests, and abilities of young people through the provision of real opportunities to become involved in political decisions that affects them at individual and systematic levels. Youth participation captures in a responsible, challenging action that meets genuine needs of the people through democratization processes. But to what end have the youths been constructively engaged in political process? However, respondents say most Nigerian youths cannot find their political bearing. As a result, have taken to e-toggery, praise singing, and other acts inimical to their political growth.
Any politician who refuses to accept the youth, that politician will not go far.
We should avoid toggery, anything that will bring havoc in our society, anything that will bring danger to our life, anything that will cause violence in our society. We advise all the youth to be calm, follow the due process in anything politics.
This game is a game of
What can you offer? It is not a physical game where you have to kill, where you have to destroy. It is a game of service to humanity. And so, to me, I don't think there is need for thuggery. So I call who are so misdirected to think twice.
They called on them not to take back seats in the Nigerian political landscape, noting that their political future starts from today. In Aba, Benson Osadebe, NTA News.
And INEC inaugurates Interagency Committee on Security. For details, let's join Femisit in Jos.
Hello and welcome to Jos. Ahead of the 2019 general elections, an Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security has been inaugurated in Jos, Plateau State. The major task of the committee is to harmonize election budgets and other logistic requirements of security agencies for the conduct of elections in the state. Abdul Wahab Babankanti reports.
The 15-member committee, drawn from the military, the police, and other paramilitary organizations, has the Commissioner of Police, Undi Adai, as chairman, while the resident electoral commissioner, Hussein Pai, as the co-chairman.
Part of the mandate of the committee is to ensure security of men and materials to all the polling centers and units across the state before and after elections.
The committee is also to coordinate the design of a comprehensive election security management system for INEC, assess existing security threats across the state that have implications for elections, and produce a red, amber, and green electoral security map for the country, which will be regularly updated.
To advise INEC on rapid response to security threats around elections, including voter registration. We are to ensure a reduction in transaction costs to INEC of dealing with individual security agencies on issues of election.
The committee is strictly an advisory body to support INEC to ensure effective security around elections, which is critical to the conduct of free, fair, and credible elections in 2019 in Jos. Abdullah Babankanti, NTA News.
The effectiveness of Drosophila as a safe model for the investigation of different types of diseases is being explored by the University of Jos. The African Center of Excellence in Phytomedicine Research and Development is using the fruit fly for this research, which is the first of its kind in Africa. Rinret Lot reports that this was disclosed at a workshop organized by the University of Jos.
With the botanical name of Drosophila melanogaster, the fruit fly is an insect endowed with many resources and has similar features with the human being. For this reason, researchers in the field of genetics and experiment consider the Drosophila an affordable and inexpensive model to use for the investigation of diseases like diabetes, autism, sleep seizure, and even cancer. In a workshop organized by the University of Jos Department of Phytomedicine, the paper presenter, Professor Abolaji Amos, in a demonstration, explains why the fruit fly is a promising model in modern science.
There's a Center for the Validation of Alternative Models. And what that center is saying is that reduce the use of rats and mice in study, or refine it, or eliminate it, or replace it. So this is one of the models that has been approved by this center to be used as an alternative to rats and mice.
The deputy center leader, Professor Taiwo Alemeka, said the workshop benefits the participants because of its uniqueness.
Beyond the talks that you will have, stimulating talk, you will go to the lab and have a hands-on experience.
At the end of the course, participants will be equipped with skills using Drosophila as a tool in experimental medicine. In Jos, Rinret Lot, NTA News.
Straits Children Advocacy Aid and Rehabilitation Center, SCA, in collaboration with media organizations in Jos, held an outreach for street children towards ensuring equal rights and justice for all. Abdul Wahab Babankanti reports.
Hundreds of the street children gathered to receive food, drinks, detergents, footwears, and some were given a haircut. The coordinator of SCA,
Kadman Dail said often street children are unable to gain access to things taken for granted, such as legal services, accessing justice when harmed, protection from harassment, violence, and healthcare services. However, she said, recognizing the right of these children is a big step towards creating real change in society.
What we are saying is that no child, regardless of whatsoever reason, should be on the streets. That is what we are advocating for. And their rights should be promoted. We are here to give them a voice. They matter. They are our responsibility. And the kind of society we are looking for starts with the street child.
Ms. Dail asked the children to speak out so that their rights will not be ignored. She also made a plea that government should enact laws so that vulnerable children can access clean water, nutritious food, durable shelter, quality health care, physical and psychological protection. In Jos, Abdullah Babankanti, NTA News.
And that does it from Jos. Laureates, back to you for more news.
Thank you, Femichit. More reports after this timeout. Don't go away.
An accused person is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But does jungle justice obey this? Jungle justice does not ask questions.
Jungle justice just acts.
And when justice is given jungle attributes, it can't be wrong. And the wrong people can be victims. Remember that a life taken is a life lost forever. Many victims of jungle justice may be innocent. Think about this and stop taking the laws into your hands. Suspected criminals must be handed over to the appropriate authorities for proper investigation.
There will be no jungle justice in my community.
This week's episode is titled Jungle Justice. Join your re-cracking comedy, Professor John Bull, and laugh like never before.
Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network, Glow Unlimited.
At the end of 2017, the Buhari administration delivered a number of unprecedented achievements. Generated power has gone up to 7,000 megawatts in 2017 from 3,000 megawatts in May 2015. More than 1.6 trillion naira has been spent on infrastructure for roads, bridges, housing, dams, and railways. Nigeria moved up 24 places on the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business rankings and earned a place on the list of top 10 reformers in the world. Today, 5.2 million primary school children in 28,249 schools in 19 states are receiving a free meal daily. Our customs service recorded its highest ever revenue collection of 1 trillion naira in a single year. Our foreign exchange reserves grew by $12 billion, reaching the highest level since 2014. We added $250 million to the Sovereign Wealth Fund and officially moved out of recession.
Thanks for staying with the NTA. Effective monitoring is being put in place to ensure compliance with the standards and specifications in the ongoing National Housing Project. Usman Aliu has details of the situation in Benin and Asaba sites of the work.
This project in Benin, Edo State, began in March 2017, and the hope to deliver by June 2018 is obvious, according to officials handling the exercise.
The quality is good, specification is very good. And the bottom line of this project is that everything we are using is from Nigeria.
Before now, some of us are contractors. We hardly get these jobs. But the job has been awarded to somebody. But you don't see that job on ground. It's only paperwork.
This place have come to put food for our table. Most of what are supplied things there.
The Asaba Federal Housing also depicts serious engagement by the government and the contractors.
When you may be passing through here, when the estate is finally finished, you think it is another Dubai.
But why is it that some states are left behind?
Right now, 4 states are on. That's Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Edo, and Delta. The 5th one is about starting, which is Bayelsa. But for rivers, we are not too sure because we don't have land yet.
This national housing project was conceived in 2016, and as soon as the first phase is actualized, Another is expected to follow, a determination by the Buhari administration to provide relief on the housing needs of the citizens. Usman Aliu, NTA News.
Nigeria and the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs are to address issues of social welfare and civil rights of the aged in Nigeria. The synergy was formed as officials from the United Nations came calling at the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, pledging to provide technical support and resources for projects on the elderly. Chimdima Ndubisi reports.
Two like minds, the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development with the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs are concerned with the challenges of the elderly in Nigeria. These challenges include inadequacies in data capacity, access to social support and civil rights, especially for those in rural areas. Their interest is to close the identified gaps for this vulnerable group, put at 8.4 million, whose larger percentage are said to rely on their families for care, unlike their counterparts in other climes who already have laid down social welfare policies.
There should be interministerial implementation of some of the basic policies.
Come up with a plan on how to move forward with the current policy, update the policy, start again.
The present administration is taking seriously the welfare of the elderly. Worthy of note is signing of the Senior Citizens Center Bill and provision of clinics that provide free medical care for the elderly.
Provided capacity development for caregivers and set appropriate standards for institutional care.
This mission is for them to scoop the situation to be able to prepare their capacity building agenda.
In furtherance of this course are suggestions for the elderly to be incorporated in the National Health Insurance Scheme. In Abuja, Chimdima Ndubisi, NTA News.
In talking sports, Nigerian National League set to begin fresh season weekend as Rafael Nadal sets new day record. Tamara Ebiwe is our guide on sports updates.
After a series of postponement, the 2017-2018 season of